Alright everyone, Lego is back with a little project again. This time it's not a commission. I didn't get paid to do this, but someone suggested I do this, or at least I proposed to do this, and then I did. So a quick little project in the same style as the Dust project, using the techniques for the Northern Lights or the Aurora effects. What you're seeing me do right now is make up the composition of the text, just 2 words, and setting that up and cutting it was pretty trivial. It's just a matter of keeping your paths the way you need them to be and maintaining the fact that it's strokes. We don't want any paths in this, we just want strokes. Nothing new to add in terms of the technique used. I did get a little bit rusty compared to the original Dust project, so I'm going to be fumbling around a bit with some of the compositions and some of the markers in a way that I really shouldn't have. But hindsight's 2020, and it's been a while, so that's my excuse. What you're seeing me do now is just make up the basic marker that I was intending to use, and I had this picture as reference, which someone in the Discord community took and shared with us. So this is what inspired the project, and this is the color palette that I'm trying to lean against. And you'll see some rookie mistakes in this, and I'll point them out as I go. The first mistake is when I made the marker, I made the top fully opaque instead of transparent, which turned out to be, well, it didn't look so good. So that's something that I remedied in the last moments of the project, but here at first I didn't really think about it too much. The danger, of course, being that everything looks like it looks like it's not going to be enough when you make it mostly transparent, and that's a trap because it absolutely will be enough when you group 100, 200, 500 of them together. So it is intentional and it needs to be mostly transparent, otherwise it's going to be way too opaque, and that's what you're seeing right now. It is every individual marker is way too defined, and it's way too it's basically not see-through enough. It's too opaque. But I fix that later. First off, what I'm doing right now is I'm just messing about with the density of the actual aurora effects, and you'll notice I have some problems with a couple of the lines here, and that's because I found out by mistake that the simplify effect, the live path effect that simplifies it, has a bug which doesn't actually use the amount of extra nodes you input. If you have 5 nodes in a simplified line, you can add as many nodes as you want. It'll still treat it like it has 5 nodes. So there was a lack of middle markers there, and I fixed that simply by removing the simplify effect and then applied it the extra nodes as usual. Now to get some variation, like I explained in the Aurora project, by the way, that will be linked in the description below, both the Dust project and the actual tutorial on how you can do this on your own. This is not, the video you're watching right now is not meant as a tutorial, but I do have an in-depth tutorial on how I propose you do this if you ever want to do this yourself, both with objects like these and actual text. Now, back to this. In order to make some variation in the orientation and size, I made another marker. And again, I made a big mistake of not giving it enough transparency, which just made for a really bold picture with a lot of color that doesn't shine through. It's weird. It looks like it's too bright. But anyway, tried to lean into a little bit of a different color scheme, and I didn't really like it that much. It was too green. And now you can see me messing about with some of the extra color because I toyed with the idea of making a double layer, and adding some different orientations on top, so it would be a tour orientation, and it didn't really work out. Anyway, at this point, I figured out that this was too bright and it was too much, so I tried to make a third variant and trying to keep track of the markers I've made throughout. I also tried to make sure that I didn't get any ghosting. And at this point, it's just, I mean, this is the general idea I had. But at this stage, I'm not too happy overall with the actual colors. I think they clash too much, and I think they're too bright. So I'm trying to play around with some colors and directions, some scale, to see if I can get it to a level where it doesn't look ugly. Frankly, trying to add some density here and there, trying to mix and match everything, and of course using some jitter nodes to make it a bit less uniform, to give it that organic feel. And I ran into a problem that I've done before as well, which is too many nodes and the jitter node tool stops working. It'll still say it does something, but it actually doesn't. So there's an overload there. Now for the background, I was just thinking of a star sky, but I realized you wouldn't be able to pay attention to that anyway. So instead I tried to do some, I guess, abstract northern lights in the background that isn't meant to be text, but just meant to give some ambience. So what you're seeing me do is basically just a supersized version of the northern lights markers, and then I'm intentionally blurring them and making them non-distinct and just part of the background. And I tried different iterations. I tried meshing about with some different densities and trying to avoid going too bold with it and getting too much involved. And I think I failed, frankly. And it didn't help that I then added a gradient background to sort of add in some extra colors, just to pimp it up a bit. I can't decide if it was too much or not. Now, I had the lines incorporated right from the start because I needed them for the raw effect as well, but the dots are only entering the scene now, and it was very easy to do. I just put a bunch of misshapen stars in to give it that non-uniform look, and then I gave it a basic gradient of a color that didn't seem too out of line, but still would be a little bit distinct from the background. So I think I got away with that pretty well, considering the few number of dots we are actually talking about here. Now at this point, I'm actually fixing my mistake of the lights being way too opaque. So what you're seeing me do now is what I should have done from day one, which is to actually make everything go transparent at the end. It's not enough, in my opinion. Looking back, I could have done even more because it's still very bright. But it's more along the lines of what I should have done. So I'm more inclined to like this version of events, and I'm still trying to. You can see I'm trying to figure out if I can make the background fit more without trying to do a mesh gradient, because if I can avoid a mesh gradient, I usually will, unless it's the best way forward. And a linear gradient here works just as well. So I played around with the abstract background again a little bit, tried to make it a bit less harsh, tried to subdue it a little bit to make it not stand out too much. And ultimately, I just gave up and left it as is. And this is the end result you see. Late at night, I was tired, and I decided that this was it, and it's not gonna get any better without me reworking the markers from the ground up and reworking the composition from the ground up. and it was just not worth it to me. So this is the project. It was a quick little one. I didn't have a lot of time, but it got the job done, and at least in spirit, it resembled the idea that I had. So there's that. Now, no more rambling from me. I'm done. Thank you for watching.